In today's video, we're going to do something a little different. We are going to look at the Marvel Universe had the MCU not existed. Because it's kind of crazy that we have an image from the early 2000s that shows us Marvel's plans going forward up until 2008, 2009. And the projects are weird, and the studios making them are even weirder. So let's get to that. Okay, so what we have here is an old image of a cosplayer at San Diego Comic-Con when they were presenting upcoming films that were coming out in 2004, 2005, 2006, and beyond. So obviously the image is from, it's believed, 2003. Some have said 2002. Again, we don't really know, but I think it's safe to say 2003 is probably the correct answer. So what we're going to do now is look at each single film releasing from 2004 to 2006, and then the films that were coming out in 2007 and after. And you guys are going to be quite shocked by the films on here, what we're looking at, the possibility of the MCU not existing, which I know in the comments is now going to be celebrated, and people are going to be like, yeah, I wish it didn't happen. We wouldn't be in this terrible age of Marvel films, and they're going to ignore all the facts because that's how revisionist history works. But there is a lot of interesting stuff here that I want to get into, and specifically who was responsible for these films at the time and what could have ended up being the ultimate result of this absolutely insane slate. So we're going to talk about WB making Marvel films, yes. We're going to talk about rivals, sequels that you never thought you would see, ever get made, and more attempts at weird films that already bombed, like a Nick Fury film again. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to focus on is 2004. So 2004 is so strange because obviously you had The Punisher, starring Thomas Jane. Then you have Spider-Man 2, one of the greatest of all times, bar none. And then you have Man-Thing and Blade Trinity. So obviously, I think most people recognize this. Blade Trinity out. All these hit their respective release dates, but Man-Thing, wait, hold up, what? So people forget that this is a real film. It only actually ended up coming out in 2005. It was pulled from theatrical release and was a direct-to-DVD, and I want to say the Sci-Fi Network, but I could be wrong on that, because it wasn't Sci-Fi at the time. It was the Sci-Fi Channel, not the Sci-Fi Network, when it was still sci-fi, like science fiction. And it had a weird distribution across, the entire world, and it was just very, very strange. And what makes this very, very interesting is that it's produced by Avi Arad, but when we look at it a little bit deeper, it's very interesting because at one point they tried to make this film a MCU thing retroactively, but that didn't hold with Kevin Feige. So let's jump into 2005. Elektra, Fantastic Four, and Iron Man? Wait. 2005? What happened to 2008? Hold up, so was the film delayed? No. This was going to be Universal's Iron Man. Or at least that's the working theory. It actually wasn't. It was supposed to be New Line Cinema's Iron Man that then got shifted to Universal before it was a entirely Marvel Studios thing. Not much is known about this film at all, outside the fact that it was going to be directed by Nick Cassavetes, who is best known for rom-comedies and the film The Notebook, which that's an interesting choice for an Iron Man film. But now let's jump into 2006. X-Men 3, Ghost Rider, and Namor? Wait, yeah, Namor. Universal was deep in development on this film. Multiple scripts were developed, and they were about to enter production. And what ended up happening was that there was a lot of back and forth, and the character also being tied up between multiple parties and rights held it off from taking off multiple times. 2006 was sort of a deadline year They had to put it out by then. And Universal, being committed to the Hulk, wanted to see how that film was going to do, obviously. And, well, the history shows us it didn't do great. So they were sort of afraid, on top of the fact that Namor was also being in part developed by the people that did Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, pretty much killed it in unison after this image was taken. So it's a interesting outlook into what could have happened. But that's nothing compared to some of the stuff we're about to talk about that was coming out after. Like unexpected sequels and, oh my god, what? Okay, so now let's get into some of the other years, like 2007. The plans were, as you can see right here, behind Spider-Man is Spider-Man 3, which was going to happen. We know this because when they talked about Spider-Man 2, they started saying it's a trilogy. But we also have Silver Surfer and Fury. So this would have been a second attempt at Nick Fury, as in 1998, we got Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is an absolutely god-awful film that I don't wish upon anybody to be put down and watch, because it might be some sort of unethical torture method. But hold up, how do we have Silver Surfer before Rise of the Silver Surfer? Because this is coming out only 2 years after the first Fantastic Four film. Well, the original idea was to actually make a standalone Silver Surfer film with Norrin Radd's origin, him falling at the hand of Galactus and becoming the Herald, and then do Rise of the Silver Surfer as a film where he's just the straight-up villain with Galactus. But the Silver Surfer movie was ultimately scrapped and folded into Fantastic Four because Fox said that nobody could ever believe a giant skyscraper-sized human robot walking down a street, and that was too childish and unbelievable. No, I will not take video essayists rewriting how the Cloud was some sort of masterful redesign that stands the test of time now. Stop. And also, you can't see it here, but behind him is also another missing film that's obstructed. If you see that too, there are tons of reports and people from this Comic-Con that reported that this was Hulk 2, and the logo was red because I guess they were thinking of doing Red Hulk, which doesn't really line up with the existence of the Red Hulk, so I'm not sure. This to me, though, looks like Daredevil 2. Maybe that's just me, I'm not sure, but hey, that's that. So now let's jump on to another wild year. Let's talk about how WB was set to release Captain America. Okay, so here's another wild year. So looking beyond the years we just covered, this was the plan for, reportedly again, 2007, 2008. So what we can see here is Captain America. Now, a lot of people forget that at this time, Captain America was in development with a partnership between New Line and WB. And WB was highly interested in producing this film, but the reason they didn't move forward with it was, one, the early formation of Marvel Studios in 2005-ish, which sort of stated, hey, we want to hang on to this, but also when WB found success with the reviews to Batman Begins, which they didn't think they were going to due to what happened with them with Batman and Robin, they pivoted from using the competition. And then, of course, we have the other weird one, which is Deathlok. Now, some of you MCU fans know this character as he's appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and this is a character that Marvel tried to get off the ground countless times before. Now, there's also some stuff that's missing here that didn't make it on this poster that was also discussed at Marvel's bigger panels, which we know is true and valid. So other films that were in development for release by 2008-2009 were The Immortal Iron Fist, which Kevin Feige would have had as one of his earliest big shot jobs with Marvel. And along with this, the Black Widow film being worked on by David Hayter. Yes, Solid Snake himself was also entering multiple rewrites, also under the early Marvel Studios banner. And the one that hurts my heart is my boy Kazar. If you're not familiar with him, think of Marvel's Conan the Barbarian, He-Man, and Tarzan, I guess, is the best way to explain him. I love this character in his world. Yeah, that was also in development. It's not on here. They talked about it a little in 2004 and then pretty much never heard from again. So, yeah, that's the outlook in regards to what we could have gotten in this weird parallel otherworld timeline where Marvel Studios never formed. And I think it's safe to say that had these come out, Marvel would pretty much be a dead brand right now, because I don't think anybody would have lined up to see Deathlok and Fury. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.